Topo Athletic is committed to lifelong health and better movement. Topo builds running shoes for those who get out there every day regardless of weather, speed, energy, or mood. Their distinctive fit and feel combines instinctive human movement with modern performance and lightweight comfort to help you keep going, keep trying, and keep moving. Discover the Topo difference.
But, you know, I ran my first ultra marathon in 2005 and just fell in love with the sport. Loved the people, loved the challenge, loved everything about it, and knew it was something I wanted to do for hopefully a long time. And I just got myself involved in the sport. So I was volunteering at events and kind of fell into race directing. I was able to take over the Javelina 100 when it was a very small, rather small event back in 2008. And Aravaipa kind of came out of that experience. So I had just graduated college, had my first job, was like 22 years old. It's like, sure, I'll take over this event, and like never directed a race before. So, I'll study, I'll figure this out. And when we put the race on in 2008, and it was about a year later, the next summer, I was trying to figure out, what to do with my life. And, was contemplating going and getting my CPA license and kind of doing the accounting world. And I decided that I wanted to take a risk at starting a business and organizing a trail running series in the Phoenix area. And so Aravaipa Running, the initial mission was to provide trail running opportunities and build a race series for people around the Phoenix area at all the great regional parks. There wasn't a lot of events at the time. So we just wanted to get people out on the trails.
2008 to 2023, the idea was to have a trail series in Arizona. Do you feel like you've accomplished that?
We had the Desert Runner Trail Series is what we ended up creating. And that's now a 7-race series that spans from October really until April. It's kind of 8 races. We just had the Damn Good Run, which you guys were out at this weekend. And which is it's an awesome way to cap off the series. There you go, sporting it. And so, yeah, I mean, we now get anywhere from 500 to 600 people at each of these events. We've got not only locals that now know their local trail system, but we've got people coming in from all across the country. It's a great winter escape. And so I think we've definitely succeeded in that initial goal.
And so now you've gone from Arizona as the initial goal, and you've now expanded in to Colorado. Tell us a little bit more about the idea and why Colorado, and what does the future look like for that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going to Colorado since 2007, got integrated with kind of the Hardrock scene way back then, and which was my dream race at the time when I first heard about it. And again, started volunteering at events there. We eventually took over a couple races in the Silverton area. So, I mean, for us, Colorado is not new, but obviously what we've been doing lately is new. But yeah, I think Colorado is kind of our second home. I don't have a home there, but I spend a lot of time there in the summers. And so I think for us, it was a natural location to expand our business. We've built up a lot of events in Arizona. And so for us continuing to grow our company, we're looking for other regions to expand our operations.
That's awesome. And you and your family, as we discussed in the green room, are all essentially small business owners. And so do you guys talk to each other? How, like, in terms of how are you marketing your business versus the Freak Brothers business, and just trying to find ways to make it work for each other, even though you have different target audiences?
I mean, I love kind of business and everything that goes with it. My main focus is the running events. I am partners with my brother, and we have a pizza shop in the Phoenix area too. And that's his main focus, but we definitely come together and share resources. I mean, the very first event that we cooked pizzas at was one of our running events. So it was kind of birthed out of the running events, which is really cool.
You mentioned Hardrock, so I kind of wanted to get into that because it's kind of a big part of your ultra running career. One of the things that I saw looking into your bio was kind of how you like to get steep, and it's also a model that we see pretty often, run steep. Can get high, you know? So talk about your hard rock finishes. You've done, so I believe you've done 5 counterclockwise and you've done 1 clockwise. I just know it was 5 one direction, 1 the other. But
Yeah.
talk about your relationship with hard rock and why it is a race that you keep coming back to.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I saw pictures of the 2006 Hardrock posted, I think, on their website. And it was a runner that was in the race. He took like a digital camera photos, and I had never seen a place like that. And I instantly just said, that's my race. That's the race I want to do. This was, I think in 2006. So started going to the event. The first time I went, I didn't even stay through the race. I just went for all the week leading up to it. So I was marking trail with people. We were doing trail work, just kind of, hanging out with the kind of the legends of Hardrock, people that put the race on, hanging out on Charlie Thorne's porch, just kind of soaking in all of the stories, which just cemented me really wanting to do the race. And I mean, it's the beauty of the area. It's the people involved. It's the fact that people would go to this event to acclimate to the altitude, and they would spend a week just pre-marking the course together, just kind of hiking through the beautiful mountains, riding in the back of trucks over these mountain passes, and just kind of bonding. It was just, I don't know, everything that I love about the sport, people getting together and ultimately then doing this really hard thing that everyone's supporting each other doing. And so those are a lot of the reasons why I love Hardrock. And to me, I mean, it is one of the hardest races in the world at the 100-mile distance, which is very appealing to me. And, I did it in 2009, and then I paced many people the years I didn't get in, and then went back, and I wanted to see what I could do out there and see how fast I could run it too.
Was there any particular year that was really memorable for you?
2013 was quite memorable. I think it was my second time. I had a really great training block. Even like 2012 got a lot more experience under my belt. I think 2009, it was like my second or third 100-mile race. And I learned a lot the hard way over the years and literally was in incredible shape. I did a lot of long training runs on the course that were like at or below course record type splits at the time. And so I had a lot of confidence going into the event, had a couple mistakes on race day that I got real sick around mile 35 going over Handy's Peak. And so ended up laying on a cot for about 4 hours there, but then got back up and had a great race the last 100K, ran one of the faster splits on the course. So 2013, super memorable. Wish I could have strung together the whole 100 miles, but that's a maybe once in a lifetime or once in a career type of a performance. And then just a lot of the years start to blend together, I feel like. But I mean, running with my brother out there, either in the race, both of us, or pacing each other is always a lot of fun.
MTZ Run Club asked in the chat, what were some of the biggest lessons you took away from that experience in 2013?
I took in too much salt for me personally. So that was a big learning lesson. Normally, I just like to do mostly water in my bottles, maybe once in a while some electrolyte drink. But I was doing a lot. There's just too much electrolyte drink on that one. Trying to think. That's probably my biggest takeaway there. Also, I mean, my brother has a lot of strategies for Hardrock, if you've ever read any of his stuff, but I think he's got some great tips out there of walking a lot of the flats and taking it easy early can set you up for a great race at the end.
Designed for running adventures on a variety of surfaces, the Cocodona Exo Spikes footwear traction are at home on ice and snow, as well as on dry, rocky ground. 12 ultra-durable tungsten carbide spikes provide an impressive amount of grip when you need it, and stand up to rocks and other abrasive trail features when you don't. Exospikes will inspire you to follow the trail less traveled, even when it's covered in ice. For more information, visit Cotula.com.
Jamil, you mentioned Hardrock being one of the hardest races at the 100-mile distance. I'm going to say you have created and developed one of the hardest races at the 200-plus mile distance. And I know because I had my bib to show for it as well. Let's talk about Cocodona. Let's talk about how this whole idea has come about and where do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, it was just an evolution over time, but we wanted to create something that is epic, that shows off my home state of Arizona, something that people from around the world are going to want to come run, and not only shows off our amazing landscapes, but also the historical towns in between. And that's really the vision for Cocodona, is connecting the communities through the incredible landscapes through a singular trail and creating an event around that. And that was what we were able to do with Cocodona. We're now heading into our third year of the event. Me and my friend Anthony Culpepper kind of paved the trail back in 2019 with the help of our friends and some of the team at Aravaipa. And we did about 200 miles of the course in 2019 and then launched the event in 2021. And last year we had a reroute, but we're back on the normal course this year for 2023.
So I'm going to give some advice to those who are racing it this year, since back in 2021 when I did it, the section when you leave mile 11 to go up and over Lane Mountain into Crown King, bring as much water as you can possibly carry, as much liquid as you can possibly carry, because it is rough getting up and over that section. And honestly, it sets you up. If you can accomplish that piece, I think the rest of the race, it's not easy, but you get up and over that section, like literally downhill from there, right? Like, I mean, when you paved the way, what were you thinking about in 2019? Like, this is going to be hard for everybody. They'll enjoy this part. Like, what were you envisioning?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we wanted to show off all of the different landscapes of the state. So starting down in the Sonoran Desert on the Black Canyon Trail was really important for us. And then tying in Crown King, the Saloon, and all these other events we have across the state, like, you're hitting little pieces of them. And when we did the scouting in 2019, we actually used a different route than we now do for the race. There is a mine property that's private property a couple miles past Cottonwood Creek, the mile 11 aid station. It's probably would be like mile 13. And we've not been able to gain access through this property. So we had to take this other route that you have been on that is much, much more challenging. We're talking, I mean, and then there's also a wilderness area. We skirted through a little tiny stretch of wilderness, probably a couple hundred yards. So we also had to avoid that. And so those two pieces, you know, when you go to permit an event, you have something in your mind of how you want this to go, but you never know until you go through the process. I mean, the permits required for a race like Cocodona it's hard to just describe how much is involved in getting this event off the ground. And so we ended up with a much harder route than expected, which is what we currently have at the moment. So it wasn't initially planned to be that way, but I think for those of us who accomplished it and finished the race in 2021 are like extremely proud of the fact that we accomplished what we did. And it's a beast. It's a beast of a course. And you're absolutely right. I mean, if you can get through that first day, which if you take it slow, if you've done some climbing and training, you take care of yourself, you have plenty of water. Fortunately, there are flowing streams this year at the moment. There's I think 10 river crossings at the moment, which sounds incredible. You know, the course kind of does get a little bit easier after that.
I will say this, I think my favorite part was after you run through the field and you can see Mingus in the distance. And then, so I was in the field in the daylight. By the time I got to Mingus, it was dark. Climbing up Mingus and going into that camp aid station, I knew that there were vegan hot dogs up there. And that was the only thing that kept me going. I was like, I want hot dogs, I want mustard, I want potato chips. As you just keep humping your way up to that camp. It's a camp up there, correct?
Yep. Yeah, the camp up on Mingus Mountain there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I slept overnight there for a couple 3 hours, and I was actually able to descend down Mingus as the sun was coming up, and so it was unbelievably gorgeous. I mean,
Beautiful.
what you have plotted out, I don't think people really understand the complexity of it all, but two, the varying scenes that you come across. Fort Tuthill is amazing, cooler air, pine trees. You know, Elden, and we want to talk about Elden 36 and the Sedona 125 as well. But you really have put together, and I hope that what you've put together in your mind is mimicked by what you actually get to see when you do the race. Do you think those are comparable, what you envisioned and what you actually have?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty close. There's definitely some pieces I wish we could improve upon, and maybe we will, you know, like over time. But yeah, I mean, starting in the desert, going through the canyons and the towns, and finishing up and over Elden, it's great. It's like, I mean, you're gonna see so much of Arizona, all of the different scenes and everything. It's amazing.
Are you going to connect Tucson to this at some point?
I mean, you know, I don't know that we need to go longer than 250 for this. But, you know, the state has a lot of incredible routes. I mean, I've hiked the Arizona Trail, which is an incredible link up from across the entire state, from Mexico to Utah. So pieces of that go right through and around Tucson. So, yeah. Plus, we got the Black Canyon Trail. There's like the Sun Corridor Trail. There's the Grand Enchantment Trail. There's a lot of amazing stuff to see.
Talk to us about the Elden 36 and the Sedona 125. When you started this process in 2019, did you have the idea that those were going to be added on later on down the road? Or as the years have gone on, you were like, this would be cool too?
Yeah, I don't know that we originally had the plan. I think our goal originally was, let's make a 200-mile race in Arizona. And then once we were dreaming out all the different pieces we wanted to include, by the time we got to the outskirts of Flagstaff, we were already over 200 miles. So we thought, you know, why not make it 250 and just be different? So I don't know exactly when the idea came to expand with some more distance offerings, but I think it makes a lot of sense for this event to do that. And so this year we are launching 2 other distances. We're going to have a Wednesday morning start for the Sedona Canyons 125, and it's a half distance of the full Cocodona. So you'll start just above the town of Jerome. There's an old mine there that we're going to be starting at. And so I don't know, if you were just to create that race on its own, it would be, I think, one of the most incredible courses you could put out there. Jerome, down through the Verde Valley, you're crossing the Verde River, up through Sedona, you're crossing Oak Creek, then climbing up into the pine forests, and then a tour through Flagstaff. It's got it all right there. It's point to point. And then we have on Friday morning, we have the Elden Crest 36. So it's like the sprint version of the race. And, you know, it's going to bring some new energy out on the course, but we've got folks that'll go from Fort Tuthill along the Arizona Trail through Walnut Canyon over Mount Elden and finishing in downtown Flagstaff, which, again, if you pulled that event out on its own and just hosted that as a race, incredible. I mean, it's a tour of Flagstaff. Fantastic.
So when you came up with this idea, and we talked about it in the green room, so to speak, the whole idea of being the UTMB of the U.S., and obviously they have varying distances in their event. And so is that sort of the culmination? Now we're getting closer to that idea of having the multiple events, so that I don't want to say you're going to call yourselves the UTMB of the United States, but sort of that vibe and that feel, and having the citizens of Arizona out there recognizing the athletes as they're coming through the areas?
I think, yeah, more than than that, I think it's more of like a festival of running, highlighting the best of Arizona across the state. And the key part being the connection of the towns, which I think is very much like UTMB. I think they connect together 19 communities through all of their races. And I think I've been to UTMB like 5 times. I've done almost all the distances, and that to me was a big takeaway and probably contributed to a lot of us wanting to do this, is like highlighting the towns and ultimately, you know, having a start in this town and then a finish in this town. That's all part of the larger 250-mile race that's happening all week. And, you know, you see that happening out over in Europe where people are lining the streets. And as they've built up that event over the course of 20 years, it becomes a highlight for the community, you know, and that very much, I think, followed in the footsteps of the Tour de France, the way that they built that up and go through the towns. So I think having something like that for my home state is the vision now. It's how do we spread the word and get the community members that are not runners at all, but can see what's happening and they want to be part of it. They're inspired by what these athletes are doing because it is inspirational. It's incredible. People even just driving through all these towns in a day is an amazing link up, which I bet there's people in Arizona that live here their whole life that haven't even been to all these places before. So the fact that you can do it in the course of the week is amazing. And it's just, it's hard to describe the experience, as you know, Jason, if you haven't done something like this before. I mean, to me, it's probably one of my top experiences in the sport, probably outside some of my Barkley runs or something, but finishing Cocodona to me was a highlight of my running career.
Yeah, I don't know how you're marketing to the people that live in these towns to get them to come out, but whatever you were doing for the first year, I've told you this earlier, like when we were running through, Clarkson is the name of the town? Clarkdale. They were people sitting out getting their coffee, and as I'm running through this area with my pacer, like they just stop drinking coffee and start yelling, right? Hey, here comes another one, and do you need water, and what can we help you with, and keep going. And it made you feel like you were something special, right? Like they made you feel like you were something special. So whatever marketing you did worked, because those people had no idea like who we were. They just saw the Cocodona bib and were cheering for us.
I mean, that first year was probably just a lot of word of mouth. Like people see people running with packs and bibs, they're like, what's happening? And word starts to spread. I mean, some of these are pretty small towns, so the word kind of gets around.
So help me understand the whole thing with Jerome. So when we watched the video or read the race manual, it was be quiet when you go through Jerome. Be quiet when you go through Jerome. And my first thought was, they must think there's going to be thousands of people running through here, and so they want everybody to be quiet. Meanwhile, they're getting one person like every 4 hours coming through because it's stretching out, right?
Yeah, for the viewers out there, the listeners, Jerome is a very small town, a mining town built on the edge of a mountainside in the middle of the course. It's like around the halfway point, and very narrow, windy streets. All of the houses are built on these stilts kind of attached to a cliffside. And it has an incredible downtown district, very historic. Also very touristy. It's kind of an art enclave. So they are constantly busy. Like they always have people coming through. So for them, like the idea of like a big race, maybe they think it's a marathon or a big 5K coming through their town, it sounds scary. And then we're telling them there's a marathon that's going to be coming through your town all night long. So like for them, they're like, they have the tourists all day, and then like, we're going to be running marathons through your town all night, your small, quiet town. So yeah, I think the fear was built up in some of their minds, and we almost didn't get permission to go through Jerome the first year. And to me, Jerome's one of the most important towns on the course. Like without Jerome, man, you're missing the heart and soul of Arizona, I think. So they did allow us to come through with heavy restrictions. We had to be silent. We had to move through. which I could tell you one funny story. When I came through Jerome, it was 11 p.m. midnight. Like the bars are like in full swing, and there was like definitely some people that drank a lot that were just running up and down the street, yelling, stopping traffic for runners. I mean, they were cheering us on, but they were making a lot of noise, and I was trying to be quiet. So it was pretty funny. But flash forward, the town has come to embrace us, and the city council is incredible. They some of them were viewing the live stream as it was happening and seeing the runners, and just they couldn't turn it off. They were just captivated. They had it on like their TVs everywhere. So it's really cool, and I guess I'm proud that like we're kind of winning the hearts of the people over. Like they're starting to see how incredible this could be for the entire central corridor of Arizona, to become like hopefully an internationally known event over time that all Arizonans can be proud of.
Yeah, I think you built something special, and maybe I just have bias having been part of the inaugural class, graduating class, having done the event, but just the different terrain that you go through, going down through Prescott and Whiskey Row is just pretty damn cool as well. And so, congratulations and kudos to you and everybody who's putting this on, and volunteers and everything, because it's an experience. And like I said earlier, when I was invited to run my first 100, I was like, no chance, that's crazy. And then when I ran a 250 mile, I was like, no chance, that's crazy, register, right? and you end up getting these experiences. So, kudos to you. I do want to talk about another one of your events, which is also pretty big on the map, which is Black Canyon. Western States qualifier, draws a lot of top talent. It's 100K, and people, want to get involved with it. Where does that rank? And I know it's like picking your favorite kid, right? Where does that rank in terms of where you see the entire Aravaipa race series?
I mean, Black Canyon's one of our most important events alongside Javelina and Cocodona. I think those three we have a lot of important events, and even across the years is a large event, but I think those three are definitely some of our biggest in terms of the amount of effort required to pull them off, especially with all of the media and live streaming that goes along with it. And yeah, Black Canyon I think is special too. We were lucky enough to inherit Javelina, but Black Canyon is a race that we created from scratch, which is really cool. And like the first time I heard about the trail and then was able to kind of run it in pieces, I ran it with a friend and a couple friends over the course of 3 different runs. And we actually did a little bit further. We went all the way we went further south from where the race finishes now. But I knew it was going to be an instant classic. Just the course is great, and it's cool to see the evolution of that event. I never ever could have imagined it's become what it has become from just those first couple runs like 10 years ago. It's crazy.
So you mentioned live stream, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Well, 2 things. 2 years ago, the 3 of us have a connection because 2 years ago, I was watching, after my first 100 miler, I watched the inaugural Cocodona live stream in awe on the first day, just, hearing about the conditions and watching the runners. Little did I know Jason was out there too. But I wanted to get into live stream because some of the first videos I watched when I got into ultra running were just this dude chasing around guys on the course with the camera, like going back like a decade, And, I was wondering kind of what goes into the live streams and what your vision is with the live streams, and when that idea kind of came to, when you kind of thought, like, this is something that I want to do for ultra running.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's like, where do we even start? I feel like all this stuff just happens so organically. Like we've been dabbling with all kinds of stuff, even just like a webcam. Like, I mean, if you look at Javelina 10, 10 plus years ago, we would always try and have like a webcam, like you can click a link, and like across the years that I got involved in, which was like one of my first ultras I participated in, we're always trying to show people what it's like. And then I think for me, seeing like what UTMB was doing with their live streaming, which predates anything, higher end we've done, it just makes you wonder, like, can we do this? To me, it's another challenge for me as an event organizer and as someone who does media and videography. Like, is this possible? Can we solve this problem with providing live coverage in these remote environments, making it engaging, making it professional? To me, it's an awesome challenge to try and take on, and I feel like we've made some good strides in the past 2.5 years. It's a lot of fun.
So how do you end up in Texas with Bandera? Is it just, hey, it's another scenario for us to try to work out some kinks and expand this concept and, see where you go next? Is that how that kind of unfolds for you then?
The idea to live stream Bandera dates back a couple of years after we did the very first Black Canyon. I feel like anything we did prior to Black Canyon 2021 is like pre-Aravaipa live streaming and then post. And the whole reason we did Black Canyon live that year was because of COVID restrictions. And Yavapai County almost canceled the race that year. We were not allowed to have any crew for the first 50 miles of the course because that's all Yavapai County. So it was just the runners and it was our volunteers. That's it. And I was like, that sucks. Like, we've got to be able to, and it's a golden ticket race. Like, we've got to be able to show people and at least have the crews be able to follow their runner. And so that's why we did Black Canyon. And once we got off that or got that done, maybe it was just like the high from like what I thought it went pretty well. I reached out to the other golden ticket races. So Bandera and Canyons. I emailed the race directors to talk about the following season to see if we could coordinate our efforts and potentially, band together and like provide a similar level of coverage at all the races. And nothing really came together this last year in 2022. But then I think it was only like maybe it was right after Javelina. I like reached out to Chris with Tejas Trails and just kind of pitched the idea again. And he was going to plan to do some social media coverage and had a couple star links coming in from Hoka, and he had one. So it kind of naturally, he said he was on board. He would do whatever it took to help get us out there. And I said, I'll meet you halfway and we'll see what we can do. So that's the long story of it.
Chris, it's a good, so I've raced Rocky 5 times.
Nice.
There a couple of times. Like, Chris is a good dude. So it's nice to see you guys work. So I'm a big dreamer, right? Started a business in the midst of a pandemic a couple of years ago. And as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, so when are we selling the golden ticket series to Netflix? We're going to make this Survive golden ticket series. So don't steal my idea, but I'm happy to participate and help out.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool seeing like the Golden Trail World Series, what Solomon and the folks behind that. I think they're kind of onto that already. And I mean, what UTMB is doing, I don't know. There's talk of maybe there was a race recently, Trans Gran Canaria. I think they actually got a media deal where they had their live stream on like television, basically. Like, it was syndicated out in front of like 1 million people or something. So, but yeah, the Golden Ticket Series is such an important, that leads up to Western States, I'm talking, is such an important piece of storytelling in our sport. It's like, it'd be great to see some consistency amongst the series, the storytelling of the athletes, the ups and downs, like you're talking about. It'd be so cool. And I don't know, like whose job is that to like pull it all together? I don't know. We've got Western States, we've got UTMB World Series involved, we got us, we've got Tejas Trails, we've got you know, some events in other parts of the world. And I know Hoka's got a lot going on, so who knows? I mean, we're doing little bits and pieces. You know, we live streamed 3 of them this year. That was pretty cool.
We're going to be at the canyons because I'm racing the 100 out there. So why don't you come on out? We'll just have a business meeting. We'll figure it all out.
If it wasn't like 2 days before Cocodona, I would be there.
Yeah. Andrea Moore is on here, who's a friend of mine from back in Texas. She's like, did you want to pace? And I'm like, I'm just going to be barely walking after racing the racing Cocodona is probably not in the cards this year.
Nice.
My name is Jason Bahamundi. I am the founder and co-owner of Run Try Bike, joined by my partner, Om Gandhi, and Aravaipa Running, Jamil Coury. If you have any questions for him, please put them into the comment section. We're going to try to wrap this up here as quickly as we can with our rapid fire, even though Jamil got the pineapple on pizza question incorrect. We'll still keep him around for a few more questions.
You got it correct. I don't know what you're talking about, Jason.
This is our 50th episode. I've got to be batting less than 500 at this point, right? I mean, there's got to be way more people putting pineapple on pizza than I thought.
Oh yeah.
I don't care for it. Yeah,
but that's a whole other thing.
On its own, just not allowed on pizza.
Yeah, correct. Pineapple is by itself all day, every day, but just not. I'm a New Yorker, right? We need to be able to fold it in half, have some grease running down our elbow, walk around. We got no time for pineapple or anything. Maybe a pepperoni cup or 2. That's about it.
Nice.
So, one last question for you, Jamil. As you're looking at this concept and started back in 2005 and starting ultra running, and now we're 18 years later, where do you see us going next? We've talked about sort of the streaming component of it. Maybe there's an opportunity with putting the golden ticket together and whatever that is. But where do you see us moving as a sport?
Yeah, man, great question. I think it's so cool to see the I'm going to say diversity of like concepts that have been created, and that there's so many niches of the sport that are out there. I mean, we've got everything from like road races, 6-day racing. We've got the Golden Trail, the kind of sub-ultra elite mountain running type series races. Then there's like the whole like Laz category of like the backyard, and his super long road races in kind of the South, where it's like Bowls and Heart of the South and all this stuff, which is like kind of expanding that whole side of things. It's just, I don't know, like, I think it's just cool to see like the branches of the tree of the sport spreading out in all these different directions. And yeah, it's great to see the live streamed events, but it's also awesome to see the local grassroots events that are just put on by your local passionate person, that they're going to put on one race a year, but it's for their people or it's for their local cause. So I think like, I guess I hope to see it expanding in all these different ways, like professionalization of the sport in terms of people making a living from being athletes is awesome to see. It's cool to see these event series that are popping up and that have the funding to do great storytelling and inspire more people to ultimately find out and just get outdoors, become healthier. I mean, to an extent, probably what we do is unhealthy. Like maybe when you get to a certain distance, like I won't deny that. But maybe there's a piece of it that can be healthy for all of us out there and find a balance in our lives. I don't know.
So with all these different ideas and components, with point-to-point races, looped races, long road races, all these other things, what would you tell somebody who's just getting started in, let's say, ultra running, not necessarily running in general, because going from a 5K to a 100-miler is, probably hard to fathom. Yeah. But somebody who just started in ultra running, like with all these different ideas and components out there, what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, find something that inspires you. If you just want to see how far you can run, or you want to try an ultra, sign up for a fixed time race that's on a short loop that gives you 6 to 12 hours or 24 hours of time. You're going to meet people. You're going to be able to run with people of all ages and all speeds and abilities, it's going to be easy for you to provide aid for yourself, and you'll probably surprise yourself. But make sure you mix in your walking breaks early, because you don't want to burn out. Or, if you're more inspired by getting out there in the mountains or exploring in nature, find an area that you want to explore. Maybe it's in your backyard, maybe it's in another state, but use it as an excuse to go to a destination and do a supported long run with a bunch of other like-minded people.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that insight, and really appreciate your time. We're going to move on from the hard-hitting journalistic questions into the more fun, rapid-fire type questions that we have for you. And they typically revolve always around food. So we've discussed pineapple on pizza. Candy corn. Is it a real candy, or is it earwax coated in sugar?
Probably earwax and coated in sugar.
Peeps. Are Peeps a real candy, or is it just dust covered in glitter?
Real candy.
Oh, no.
Even though I wouldn't eat it anymore.
Have you heard of peep jousting?
No.
So we had a guest on, Kim, who told us about peep jousting, and essentially you take two peeps, stick toothpicks in the noses, and put them in the microwave, and as they melt, they end up fighting with each other.
Nice.
I haven't done it, so I can't prove it to be true, but that's what we've heard. Are you a fan of licorice?
I'll say yes, just because my grandmother loves it.
So then you don't have a favorite between Twizzlers and Red Vines then, do you?
I would say Twizzlers.
So you prefer the red or the black then?
Red.
Yeah.
But my grandma loves the black.
Okay. So does she like Sambuca too? Did grandma have a shot of Sambuca every now and again with the black licorice taste?
I think so.
Yeah. To me, like, the only times I've ever heard of people liking the black licorice is if they were also Sambuca fans, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Almost never are they like, I like the red one and a shot of Sambuca. It almost never goes to
Doesn't exist.
Red velvet cake. Is it an actual flavor, or is it just chocolate cake with red food dye?
Red food dye.
Yes. Favorite cake?
My favorite cake?
Yeah.
Probably like a chocolate fudge cake.
Chocolate fudge?
Sure.
You like pie?
Pie, yeah.
What's your favorite pie?
Toss up between apple and pumpkin. I'd probably give it to apple.
Okay. So will we see any of these at an aid station at Cocodona anytime soon then?
I don't think it's going to hit the seasonality for the pumpkin, but you definitely will find pumpkin pie at Javelina 100.
There you go. Are you a barbecue guy? Do you like barbecue? Not grilling, barbecue.
I mean, I don't eat meat, but I would love like some barbecue imitation meats.
Actually, I did. I saw you at Green a few months ago here. With your family a few months ago. I saw you at Green. So
Yeah.
I should have that question. So what's your favorite pre-race meal then?
Oh, hands down, mashed potatoes.
That's it? Just mashed potatoes?
Maybe some veggies with it. Yeah.
And
huge bowl of mashed potatoes.
That's awesome. And then post-race recovery meal?
I mean, I could go Freak Brothers Pizza always hits the spot for me.
There you go. So now, for when you're out running, do you listen to music, podcasts, or nothing at all?
For me, it would be like podcasts or listening to YouTube videos.
So, and your favorite one is Fireside Chat by Run, Try, Bike, right?
Of course.
Of course. Favorite form of entertainment? Are you a TV guy, a movie guy, or would you read books?
It's like YouTube.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, Jamil, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. This was a blast, and we look forward to catching up with you again, especially after Cocodona, and we get to see how the athletes deal with the terrain this year.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a great evening. Thanks.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.